Told you we're gonna catch a freaking big one up shallow. Look at the mud coming out, like he's inches deep. All right, so we're moved up on the bank. We're gonna move up shallower. I don't wanna stay on the bank, but you know, the problem is on that outside, you know, in the first part of that outside edge, we had a lot of choices. Even though I threw bladed jig more than anything, you got a lot more choices than you do up here real shallow. I mean, I figure you got a frog and a flipping stick. I could probably, you know, swim a jig, those kind of things, but we just don't have as many choices as we did out. I'm gonna start with the frog. The wind's blowing good. I mean, good for a frog. It's not too much, it's not flat. The water's pretty clear, so we ought to be able to get away with, you know, moving the bait quick and see. I would love to catch them flipping, but I just don't know if it's set up right. I don't, you know, it's not really topped out, matted. The bottom's kind of mucky, so I really think it's still gonna be a moving bait deal. Now, one thing the outside edge has on us is that early morning bite. You know, we caught quite a few on the outside edge, and so in trying this, you know, I know that, you know, if I get 5 bites shallow, that if I probably started shallow, I would get more bites early in the morning. But what I just want to see is if there's just a different quality of fish that's up here, you know, in like 2 foot or less, because there was some decent ones out there. I mean, health wise. So just gonna try it, you know, 3 hours and kind of see which one wins. So we grabbed a frog and hadn't had a bite. You can see that, I mean, it's a little bit windy, not terrible, but you know, everybody, the handbook says, you know, frog, you only throw it when it's calm, and that's not the case. I mean, if this water was dirty, you know, like I couldn't see 3 or 4 inches, then I probably wouldn't throw it. But I mean, like, I almost think it's perfect. Like they can see it a foot, foot and a half, the wind's kind of kicking in, moving it quick. Like I really think if there's one around, I think he's gonna bite. But you know, I'm moving pretty quick, just kind of hitting the high spots just to see what they're in. In moving shallow, we switched types of grass. I mean, out here is, honestly, I don't know what it is. It's either kind of a milfoil or a coontail. And up here on the bank, it's like deer tongue looking stuff, like a leafy. And they get in it. I just don't know if they're in it today. Yeah, the wind, I think, is, I mean, I really feel like they ought to bite if they're up there. Just haven't seen any action whatsoever, any chasing going on up there, any activity, which doesn't mean there's not a bass up there, but just may not be as many that up there as there is on the outside. A lot of times they'll get in the holes or they'll get on the edge more so than way back in it. But I mean, I'm fishing everything just to see. It's actually a good shallow fishing day. I mean, got some wind and the water's starting to cool off some. There's just a bunch of it. It's just hard to slow down and flip it at least till we figure out where they're setting at. First bite shallow. You can't base a pattern or fishing on one bite, but that's way different than what was out there on the edge. Skinny and not very big. But like I said, you have these a lot of times you have bites that kind of tell you, I mean, they kind of give you a good clue, and then you have these bad bites. And that fish was not in the grass, he wasn't in it, he was on the edge, which maybe they don't want to be in that stuff. Maybe they just don't want to live in it. Maybe it's too shallow for them right now, or it's just not what they want to be in. But like I said, you can't base it on a single bite. If you like the bait, I saw him. That's negative number 2. He was tiny, tiny. I think this APPAREL might, with a little bit of wind, since that grass doesn't come to the surface, it may just get their attention a little more, so kind of mix it in some with the frog. Strike number 3. Babies. Just a little bitty clump out there, and it's not looking good for the shallow fishing. Got me in a grass or a tree or something. He's not very big, I don't think. Same size. Bunch of grass and not a whole lot of bass. You know what happens sometimes, everybody wants to be like in the, you know, the thickest grass, and one of the reasons they may, you know, a lot of them may be on the outside edge is just, you know, we're sitting in like 2 foot and it's just grass all the way to the bank, and it's not topped out, so, you know, there's not like tunnels and stuff underneath it. A lot of times that grass can get choked out. There's just too much, and they want, even though they want to live in something a lot of times that's thick, they want to be able to see, to eat and stuff. And that's why, like, in these kind of places, you'll catch them in the holes and on the edge, you know, like where it mats and stuff, just because that's a place that they can actually see to eat. And with it being the fall, you know, this grass this is about what it's going to do. It's not going to grow anymore. It's not like we come back in 2 weeks and all this is topped out and they've changed. This is what it's going to be. So just not seeing any activity. Like it's, and in the fall, that's when bait trumps any kind of structure. Like you want to be around that bait. And that may just be the day where today the wind's not blowing enough. You know, a lot of that bait's out here on the edge. You come back tomorrow and it's really, really blowing. And that bait gets pushed up there, then you catch them up there on the top. So, you know, this isn't about which one's better all the time, deep or shallow. It's just about today. You know, where they want to be at in these weather conditions. Got me in the grass. He was up there shallow. A little bigger, but still not what we're looking for, even though it doesn't even compare. to the fish on the outside. You can tell he's how dark he was, like his back. Like that fish, that's where he lives at, is up there in that 2 foot or less. Right here where I had that bite, there's just not as much grass going out there. So I think that's kind of the deal, is they just don't want that choked out stuff. Let's get on up here just a little bit, and it's just hard not to throw a pop R when I see these points running out. You know what's gonna win. It's just like now I'm being hard-headed and I want to catch a big one shallow just because I know that there's some up there, but I mean, we just haven't even had a close to a decent bite yet. It's all just little bitty ones. And it's not like we've moved, you know, hundreds of yards. We're literally fishing right there, and earlier this morning we were fishing right here. Sitting here talking dirty about the shallow fishing not being as good today as the outside edge, and we're gonna get a hold of a great big one, and then we're gonna be right back to square one. But you just can't base it on one bite. Told you we're gonna catch a freaking big one up shallow. Look at the mud coming out, like he's inches deep, and he came off. That was a 4 or 5 pounder. And the good thing about it is it wasn't just him, there's a whole wad of them right there. He smoked it and I lost him. Where'd that, see that? And as I was saying, the shallow fishing's way better than the deep fishing. That's bigger than anything we caught out there. Now that's just one bite, but then you add the one before. There's just something special about that. Like, I can see a ditch cutting through that island. If I'm betting, there's just current coming through there, and they're sitting there eating. But it's typical grass fishing. I mean, you fish and you fish and you find one little spot that's got some in it. I gotta catch my breath because that first one just kicked my butt. And I had another bite out here, like there's that little area right there. And it doesn't look great. It honestly looks like it's so shallow. Whenever I hook them, there's mud boiling. And this is what happens when you're practicing for an event. Like you think that you know everything, and all of a sudden you don't, and then you're up in arms on tournament day on what to do. I hit him with everything. It's in the grass. They're just in that big hole, like chasing stuff. Best thing to do when they get wadded up like this is just stay, because he can't fight right now. Just steady pressure. Make sure it's not a cottonmouth. He's not that big. But I hit him, like I crossed his eyes. know, we're getting close on time. We kind of gave the same deep and shallow the same chance. And you know, which one won? I don't know. Like if I was fishing tomorrow, I would be really concerned about only finding one spot, you know, shallow up on the bank. Yeah, there were some nice ones in there, but it's kind of like, you know, you're going to take off and try it, and if it doesn't work, then what else do you do? So, I mean, literally, if I was fishing tomorrow, a tournament here, I would have to go with the outside edge just because of the number of better fish. Yeah, you could always run up here and make a few casts on this spot, but yeah, the quality was just overall was just better out there deep. And am I saying that, you know, 5 foot beats 2 foot every day? Absolutely not. Just on this today fishing, you know, what we figured out was that the outside edge had way more fish, average better quality of fish, but you know, there's still some decent ones up shallow too. So we're going to wrap it up, go to the house. I appreciate you guys watching, and thanks for riding along.